So, my coworker is kind of a weirdo. I'll call her Mary for the sake of this post. Her and her husband are one of those people that have a ton of adopted kids, 8 so far, and are super religious, to each his own. Mary enjoys telling everyone at work her business, so when she decided to adopt a kid from the Ukraine, everyone heard about it. She went with an older kid because it was easier for her and her husband, she says. This was 2 years ago. Mary has asked me to babysit the boy a couple of times. I'll call him Tony. And it's never been a problem because I like kids. I didn't see any glaring problems despite Mary's constant dramatics about how awful the kid was, and he seemed to like being over. It's just me and my boyfriend here, and our place is small but clean and really well kept. Mary's house is disgusting, for lack of a better word. Mary would harp constantly about how much Tony liked it at our house, but I just chalked it up to the kid having a good time. Lately, Mary has been at work, talking to anyone that'll listen about how awful Tony is, how horrible he is to the other kids, and how she's going to get rid of him. She sent out a freaking mass email to everyone in our department asking if someone wanted to take her kid from her. She calls it rehoming, and that it's okay. I logged onto Facebook today and same story. She has pics of Tony posted to her timeline advertising him for readoption and to contact her if interested. I haven't replied to her email yet, and I haven't commented on her post, but I'm this close to ripping into her for what she's doing. She's crossed the line from weird into full-blown psycho. Should I call CPS? I called the police just now, but they sounded completely confused on what to do. They agreed to a welfare check. The post is still up. Is this really legal? I don't know much about adoption, and a quick search for rehoming gets me mostly results about animals. Any advice? Edit. Shit has hit the fan. There's mass insanity right now, but I'll have an update for everyone tonight. Most importantly, the kids are safe. Update. Let me start with saying a huge thank you to everyone in this subreddit that replied to my post. Now that the dust has settled a bit, I'm honestly kinda overwhelmed by the number of people that went to huge lengths to tell me about just how serious this situation is, deep dived on resources, ECT. I got PMs from people that worked for local and state governments and private agencies that were outside of my state, but offered their contacts. I had people that spoke Russian, Ukrainian offering to help contact the Ukrainian embassy and offered me contact information for embassy departments. People even contacted us offering money for Tony's immediate needs in the event we decided to take him in. I'm sincerely touched by the genuine concern all of you had for Tony and his siblings. I hope one day I can tell Tony that despite everything that's happened, there's people out there like you guys that care about him. The information you guys gave us helped us act fast and got the ball rolling on this situation faster than me and my boyfriend would have figured out alone. I talked with the cops about the situation, and honestly, they were just as confused as I was. The person I talked to on the phone was just as stumped, but he agreed that at a minimum, they did need to do a welfare check. I've had experiences with welfare checks before, and I had the nagging feeling that something just wouldn't go right. And someone PM'd me the priority line for my state's Child Protective Services hotline. I got someone on the phone right away, and as soon as I mentioned that trafficking could be going on and that she was advertising the kid on Facebook, it was a public post here too, people. They acted with a quickness. I gave them all the information I had on Mary and Tony and all the information I had from Mary about Tony's adoption. The person I spoke to right away said that she suspected that the adoption might not even be legal. I was floored. I emailed all the screenshots I had to the person I spoke with and asked for a follow-up if that was at all possible. I said that myself and my boyfriend were willing to take Tony on a temporary basis if necessary, but the CPS representative said that likely wasn't possible. Then, the waiting game began. Last night was probably the most stressful night I've ever had. Hell, at one point, I was ready to drive out to Mary's house myself, but was stopped by my boyfriend. It was tough. The cops followed up with us at approximately 2 a.m. Note that I haven't heard from CPS. The officer I spoke with was very cautious and limited in what he said, but he told me that CPS arrived at the home shortly after he did. In not so many words, he implied that Mary had been talking to someone about meeting Tony the very next day and that CPS's suspicions were confirmed. Tony's adoption was not legal. Tony was rehomed to Mary and her husband from another state where placement needs to be approved by a judge. He didn't elaborate further, except to say that other issues came to light and all of the children were removed from the home for their own safety by CPS. He didn't say how long they were there, but said it was a long time. I was asked to drop off all emails and printouts to the station in the morning, and I agreed. My boyfriend and I wanted to make doubly sure that all of our bases were checked, so I called our local FBI office, who said they lacked jurisdiction in the matter, but would be writing up a complaint and referring the issue to the State Department. We called the Ukrainian embassy and made a detailed complaint, and I included the contact information I had for the officer from the department. The shit really hit the fan when I went into work to print out the email. Our company is pretty small, and the company owner, I'll call her Big Ange because of her resemblance to the Mob Wives lady, had gotten wind of Mary's email. Big Ange was furious and waiting at Mary's desk to see if she would show up for work. My friend reported that Big Ange waited from 7:15, 9:30 a.m., and that Mary came to work with a sob story about how her kids were being unfairly taken away. Mary wanted time off from work to clear her name and devote herself to reclaiming her family from this misunderstanding. I wasn't there to witness this, but Big Ange, who has 6 kids herself, apparently ripped Mary a new asshole. Mary has been dismissed, and rumor has it that Big Ange may or may not allow her to claim unemployment. My head is honestly still spinning from everything that has happened. The past 24 hours have been insanity. I'm so grateful that the system worked as quickly as it did. I only hope it works out a long-term solution to this problem and that Mary doesn't get to reclaim her kids. My heart is breaking for Tony and the other kids right now. I don't know what the fuck was happening in Mary's house that made CPS remove them that night, but I'm going to sleep better, knowing that they aren't with psycho-ass Mary and her husband, at least for a while. What the future holds for Tony and the other kids, especially because Tony's adoption was apparently illegal, makes me sick, but I'm going to wish for the best. I need a damn drink. Story 2. My father and stepmother died, leaving me, 19 M, and my stepsister, 8F. My stepsister's father, who has previously never cared about her, is getting full custody and has told me he won't allow me to visit. Is there anything I can do? Hi. So my life is falling apart. As the title says, a few weeks ago, my father and my stepmother were killed in a car accident. They have been married for 7 years, and my stepmother had a daughter from a previous marriage who is 8 years old. I love her unconditionally as if she were my own sister, and I would fight tooth and nail to keep her safe. She has no immediate family other than her father in the area, so he is going to receive full custody of her. I don't know if subjective opinions are allowed in posts like this, but this guy is a fucking asshole. The reason my stepmother left him is because he was abusive, which was never reported to the police, but I know several people who have witnessed it firsthand, so it absolutely 100% happened. And the reason he was abusive was because my stepsister was born and he didn't want a child. As a result, he has never given a shit about her, never asked to see her, and has never wanted anything to do with her until now. I was at home with my stepsister a few days ago, and he knocked on the door. I opened it, and we had a really ugly conversation about what was going to happen to my stepsister now that her mother and my father were dead. I told him that if he did end up having custody, I would want to be seeing her as often as possible as I consider her my family. He told me, verbatim, "That's not gonna happen, son. I don't want my daughter spending time with half-caste blood." He's referring to the fact that my father is mixed race, and that I am too as a result. I slammed the door. I was absolutely livid, which brings me to this post. So basically, I have a few questions. First, can anything be done to stop him having custody? There are no police reports about his abuse, and his criminal record is clean by all the research I have completed. Third, at the very least, could I contend in a court that I have visiting rights to her? I'm not actually related to her, so I'm not sure what the standing is there. Third, if it's not possible to force allowed visits, is there any way I can straight up adopt my stepsister? I have an office job that pays well, so financial security wouldn't be a problem. I have an apartment of my own, and I would be 100% willing to be her full-time guardian. Edit. I want to make it absolutely clear that my sister does not want to live with her dad, and she says she wants to live with me. Thank you so much to anyone who responds to this. I'm at my wit's end, and I will do literally anything to keep my stepsister close to me, and I don't care about the cost. Update. So after one of the most stressful months of my life, I can happily tell you all that I got custody of my stepsister. I did as many of you suggested, and got a family lawyer who was one of the most kind and helpful people I've ever met in my life. I told her the circumstances of my stepmom and dad's death through tears and sobbing, and then told me she'd do everything she possibly could to help me. After my stepsister's bio dad was informed that I would be trying to get full custody, he basically folded within hours. The lawyer told me that it wouldn't have mattered anyway, though. She said that, because he hadn't visited her for such an extended period of time, that it was considered abandonment in the eyes of the law, and the likelihood of him specifically getting custody was unlikely because of this. After her bio dad said he didn't want my stepsister, I then spent weeks and weeks filing out the right papers and seeing the right people. I've never signed so many things in my entire life. Because my stepsister had no biological family other than her shithead dad, I was given custody on a silver platter, according to my lawyer. Her bio dad didn't ask for visitation rights, and it appears he didn't even care in the first place. He just wanted my stepsister for no reason other than to further upset me. Yesterday, I signed the last piece of paper that confirmed that I had 100% custody of my stepsister. After I signed, we both cried and cried for hours. We're both working on processing the death of her mom and my dad. As I write this, she's asleep next to me with her head on my shoulder. The past 2 months have hands down been the worst of my entire life. I consider meeting my stepsister the best that's ever happened to me, and adopting her is the single best decision I've ever made. These events have made me realize that family isn't just DNA-based. It's actionable investments in the life of someone you love. Thank you so much for all of the people who helped me in my first thread. I owe all of you for the rest of your lives. Once I turn 21, if any of y'all are in the Aberdeen area, drinks are on me. I hope you all lead wonderful lives. Give your loved ones a big hug for me.